Great Zimbabwe is one of the most famous historic sites in Africa and is located 240 kilometers east of Bulawayo in modern-day Zimbabwe. The rulers of Great Zimbabwe built on the stone masonry traditions of Mapungubwe and established elaborate settlements to display their wealth, power, and prestige. The kingdom's capital was the city of Great Zimbabwe, which spans an area of more than 7 square kilometers. At its peak in the 14th century, it may have housed around 18,000 people. The roughly 7-meter-high Great Enclosure was built without mortar and is therefore unique in the whole of Africa. Great Zimbabwe was built for a succession of rulers who became rich and powerful through trade. And these collection of ruins are the largest in Africa south of the Sahara. And they are testament to a culture of immense wealth and great architectural skill. It's reckoned that around 1 million stone bricks, weighing about 15,000 tons, were needed for the main walls alone. And by the way, Zimbabwe means house of stone in the Shona language of the people who still inhabit the area. One of the main sources of wealth for Great Zimbabwe was the fact that it was a thoroughfare for all trade in gold and ivory from the interior of Africa to the southeastern coast. The GHA, the General History of Africa, compiled by UNESCO, on which the series bases its facts, states that the famous stone ruins of Great Zimbabwe fueled the sometimes extravagant imagination of foreign writers and visitors who could not believe it was built by Africans. This is one example that illustrates this, the words of James Theodore Bent, an English explorer, archaeologist and writer.
A prehistoric race built the ruins, a northern race coming from Arabia, closely akin to the Phoenician and Egyptian, and eventually developing into the more civilized races of the ancient world.
Zimbabwean academic George Carrick-Waivanane is currently teaching African history at Edinburgh University in Scotland. He was born in an area very close to Great Zimbabwe.
Many Europeans who saw the majesty and splendor of the Great Zimbabwe just couldn't imagine that Africans could have built this. They came up with many theories about the Phoenicians having come and all those sorts of spurious theories. But in fact, these are impressive structures that were built by African people using African intellect and African innovation.
So the reality is that Great Zimbabwe was constructed according to age-old architectural principles and made from local raw materials. But we cannot be sure exactly who built it, according to Zimbabwean professor Ngwabi Bebe. He's one of the main contributors to the General History of Africa, and we meet at the site of Great Zimbabwe.
It is very important to always remember when we are talking about the builders of Zimbabwe that we should not quickly identify these ruins with a particular ethnic group within Southern Africa, because the ethnic groups were migrating. Recently, we have discovered that some societies which are associated with some of the remains that we have found here, very early on, really migrated to South Africa and back again. So it was not a straightforward one route or one directional migration, but the people migrated to and from.